Lady Zelenara pressed her six-fingered hand against the cold viewport of her ship. Earth grew larger in the distance, a blue and white marble hanging in the blackness of space. She had never seen anything so beautiful and so terrifying. "We will." "Enter Earth orbit in 20 minutes, Ambassador," said Krill, her most trusted aide. His gray skin looked even paler under the ship's lights. Zelenara nodded, but did not turn from the window. After 50 years of watching humans from afar, the Centauri had finally decided it was time to make contact. As a high-ranking noble from one of the oldest families in the Centauri Imperium, she had been chosen to lead this historic mission. "Are you worried?" Krill asked, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "Our intelligence reports say these humans are primitive," she replied. "Yet they have advanced from simple flight to space travel in less than 100 years. That is not the mark of a primitive species." The truth, which she kept to herself, was that she was very worried. Humans were nearly twice the height of the average Centauri. Their planet had stronger gravity than her homeworld. Their bodies were built for strength and endurance in ways that seemed almost impossible. A soft chime sounded through the ship. "Ambassador, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," announced the communications officer. Zelenara straightened her ceremonial robes and adjusted her breathing apparatus. Earth's atmosphere contained more oxygen than she was used to. Even on the ship, she had to be careful. "Put it on the main screen," she ordered. The large display at the front of the bridge flickered to life. A human woman appeared, with short auburn hair and a blue uniform covered in badges and symbols. Her face showed no fear, only calm interest. "This is Captain Lisa Moore of the United States Space Command," the woman said. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our solar system." Zelenara swallowed hard and stepped forward. "Captain Moore, I am Lady Zelenara of House Centauri. We come in peace and seek diplomatic relations with your world." The human smiled, showing white teeth. Zelenara tried not to flinch. On her world, displaying teeth was a sign of aggression. "We have prepared a landing site for your shuttle, Captain," Moore said. "A delegation of Earth's leaders will be there to greet you." "Thank you," Zelenara replied with practiced dignity. "We look forward to meeting face to face." When the transmission ended, Krill approached her with a data tablet. "Our scientists have prepared this report on Earth's atmosphere and gravity. You will need to wear the full environmental suit for the landing." Zelenara frowned as she reviewed the numbers. "It will be difficult to move in that suit. The humans will see us as weak. Better they think us weak than watch you collapse in their gravity," Krill said bluntly. She knew he was right, but it bothered her all the same. The Centauri High Command had not sent her to make friends with the humans. This diplomatic mission was just the first step in their plan to bring Earth under Centauri control. "Show me the files on the human leaders again," she said. Krill handed her another tablet. She scrolled through the images and information the Centauri spies had gathered. Over the years, one face caught her attention. John Miller, Earth's chief diplomat. He had kind eyes, but a reputation for seeing through deception. "This one could be a problem," she murmured. 3 hours later, Zelenara stood inside the landing shuttle as it descended toward Earth. Through the window, she could see a large open area surrounded by tall buildings made of glass and steel. Hundreds of humans had gathered behind barriers, all staring up at the sky. "They are so many," whispered Vela, her personal guard. "And so large." "Remember your training," Zelenara replied, though her own hearts were beating faster than normal. "Show no fear." The shuttle touched down with a gentle bump. Zelenara checked her environmental suit one last time. The mask covering her face would filter the air, and the special fabric would help support her body against Earth's stronger pull. "Open the doors," she commanded. Bright sunlight flooded the shuttle. Zelenara squinted her large eyes and took her first step onto Earth soil. Immediately, she felt the difference. Despite the suit, her body felt heavy, as if she were carrying another person on her back. A line of humans stood waiting. In the center was a tall man with silver hair and a dark blue suit. Beside him was a woman in a similar outfit. "Lady Zelenara," the man said, bowing slightly. "I am Peter Collins, President of the United States. On behalf of all nations of Earth, welcome to our planet." Zelenara bowed in return, careful not to bend too deeply and risk losing her balance. "Thank you, President Collins. The Zentari people are honored to begin this new chapter in our histories." The woman stepped forward. "I am Carol Bennett, Secretary of State. We have prepared a comfortable place for you to rest and adjust to our environment before the formal meetings begin." As they walked toward a waiting vehicle, Zelenara noticed a man watching her intently from the side of the welcome party. He had dark hair with touches of gray and thoughtful eyes. She recognized him immediately from the files. John Miller. He did not smile or wave like the others. He simply watched, his eyes taking in every detail of the Zentari delegation. Zelenara looked away first, uncomfortable under his gaze. She would need to be careful around this one. Inside the vehicle, Zelenara tried to appear calm as they drove. Through the city, the buildings stretched up impossibly high. Vehicles rushed in all directions. People walked quickly along the sides of the roads. "Your world moves very fast," she said to Secretary Bennett. "Too fast, sometimes," Bennett replied with a small smile. "We've prepared rooms for you with lower oxygen levels and reduced gravity. Our scientists worked from the specifications your advance team sent." "You are most kind," Zelenara said, though. Inwardly, she was surprised. The humans were more thoughtful than she had been led to believe. The vehicle stopped in front of a large building surrounded by trees and guards. As Zelenara stepped out, she noticed something flying past overhead. A simple bird, but its freedom of movement in Earth's gravity reminded her again of how limited she would be here, not in her private quarters. After the humans had left, Zelenara removed her mask and took a careful breath of the adjusted air. It was better, but still not comfortable. "The first meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning," Krill said, checking their schedule. "They wish to discuss trade opportunities." Zelenara nodded and moved to the window. In the distance, she could see the lights of the human city glowing against the darkening sky. "Send a message to High Command," she said quietly. "Tell them Phase 1 is complete. We have established contact. But also tell them—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Tell them the humans are not what we expected. This will not be a simple conquest." As night fell on her first day on Earth, Lady Zelenara wondered if she had been sent on an impossible mission. The humans were stronger, more numerous, and more advanced than the Zentari had believed. Yet failure was not an option her people would accept. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The grand reception hall buzzed with voices and movement. Lady Zelenara stood near the wall, watching humans move about with ease in the gravity that made her bones ache. Even with her environmental suit adjusted to maximum support, she felt heavy and slow. "Are you finding everything comfortable, Ambassador?" Secretary Carol Bennett approached with 2 glasses of clear liquid. "Your hospitality is most generous," Zelenara replied, carefully accepting the smaller of the 2 glasses. Her scientists had tested Earth water and found it safe, though the mineral content was different from home. "I understand our gravity is challenging for you," Bennett said. "We're working on creating more suitable environments for future meetings." Zelenara took a small sip of water. "Your civilization has accomplished much in so little time," she said, repeating a line she had practiced. "The Zentari are impressed by human ingenuity." Bennett smiled, but her eyes remained watchful. "We're an ambitious species," sometimes too ambitious for our own good. Across the room, John Miller stood talking with Krill. Zelenara watched them carefully. Krill was under orders to suggest the first step in their Plan A Zentari outpost on Earth's moon for cultural exchange. Miller nodded as Krill spoke, his face revealing nothing. When he glanced in Zelenara's direction, she quickly looked away. "Lady Zelenara," a deep voice called. She turned to see a tall human male in a uniform approaching. "I'm Lieutenant Allen." "Right. I've been assigned as your security liaison during your stay." Zelenara studied him. He had short brown hair and clear blue eyes. Unlike some of the other humans who seemed uncomfortable around the Zentari, he looked directly at her without hesitation. "Thank you, Lieutenant Wright. I look forward to working with you." President Collins moved to the center of the room and raised his hands. The crowd fell silent. Distinguished guests from the stars, honored representatives of Earth. Today marks a historic moment for both our peoples. To commemorate this occasion, we have prepared a gift for our visitors. 2 humans wheeled in a large wooden chest decorated with metal designs. The crowd applauded. "Lady Zelenara, this chest contains cultural artifacts from all nations of Earth. We offer it as a symbol of our desire for friendship." All eyes turned to her. Zelenara moved forward, aware of how slow and awkward she appeared compared to the humans. The chest was positioned before her, its polished surface gleaming under the lights. Custom demanded she accept the gift by lifting it herself. She looked at the wooden box, easily 3 times larger than any ceremonial object on her world. In Earth's gravity, it might as well have been made of solid metal. "It is our tradition to accept gifts with our own hands," she explained to the watching crowd. She reached down and gripped the handles on either side of the chest. "It's too big," she gasped as she tried to lift it. The weight was impossible. Her environmental suit whirred as it attempted to provide more support. "But I have to try," she added, her voice strained out as she struggled. The chest began to slip from her fingers. Suddenly, Lieutenant Wright was beside her, his hands catching the chest before it could crash to the floor. "Perhaps we can create new traditions together," he said quietly, so only she could hear. Their eyes met for a moment. "Our worlds are very different. We need to rethink how we approach this relationship." President Collins quickly stepped forward. "The lieutenant is right. We should not expect our friends to conform to our ways when their physiology is so different from our own." The moment passed. Other humans came forward to move the chest, explaining they would deliver it to the Zentari ship. The reception continued, but Zelenara noticed a change in the atmosphere. Some humans looked at her with new understanding, while others seemed to realize for the first time how alien she truly was. Later that night, in her private quarters, Zelenara removed her environmental suit with relief. The adjusted gravity and air settings allowed her to move more freely in this room. "A first phase proceeds as planned," Krill reported. "I spoke with the Earth diplomat about our proposal for a lunar base. He did not reject the idea outright." "And what do you think of this John Miller?" she asked. Krill's face wrinkled with concern. "He asks many questions." "Too many questions." Zelenara moved to her communication device and entered a coded sequence. The small screen lit up with the symbol of the Zentari High Command. "Report," came the cold voice of General Vex. "Humans more perceptive and physically capable than anticipated," she said formally. "Their gravity alone makes conventional subjugation impossible for our troops. Recommend reassessment of strategy." "Your job is not to reassess, Ambassador," General Vex replied. "Your job is to secure permission for the lunar base. The rest will follow as planned." "The humans are not primitive savages," she argued. "They have advanced technology and are physically stronger than us. If they discover our true intentions, they will not," the general cut her off. unless you fail in your mission to convince them of our peaceful intentions. The communication ended abruptly. Zelenara stared at the blank screen, frustration building inside her. A soft chime sounded at her door. She quickly put on her breathing mask before answering. Lieutenant Wright stood in the hallway. "Forgive the late hour, Ambassador. I wanted to check if you needed anything." "I am fine, thank you," she said, surprised by his consideration. He nodded. "I also wanted to apologize for what happened at the reception. We should have considered the physical differences more carefully. There is no need for apology. It was educational for both our peoples." Wright smiled. "Tomorrow, I'm assigned to take you to see some of our city. The schedule says cultural exchange, but honestly, I think Secretary Bennett just wants you to see that we're not all boring politicians." For the first time since arriving on Earth, Zelenara felt something like amusement. "I would like that." After he left, she returned to the window. The lights of the city stretched out before her, millions of tiny stars on the ground, mirroring those in the sky. So many humans, living their lives unaware that her people viewed their world as simply the next conquest in the Zentari expansion. She thought of Lieutenant Wright's quick move to catch the falling chest, his understanding words. She thought of John Miller's perceptive eyes. These were not simple creatures to be easily subjugated. Zelenara sent a private message to her sister back home. "This world is not what we were told. The humans are stronger, smarter, and more complex than our reports indicated. I fear our leaders have made a grave miscalculation in targeting this planet." As she prepared to rest, Zelenara wondered what the coming days would bring. The moon base was just the first step in a plan that suddenly seemed much less certain than when she had left home. 3 months had passed since the Zentari arrival on Earth. Lady Zelenara stood by the large window in her quarters, watching the sun rise over the city. Her body had slowly begun to adapt to Earth's gravity and atmosphere, though it remained a constant strain. She no longer needed the full environmental suit, but still wore a thin breathing mask when outside her living space. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Lieutenant Alan Wright entered, carrying a small package. "Good morning, Ambassador," he said with a smile that had become familiar over the past months. "Are you ready for our trip to the memorial today?" Zelenara nodded. In her time on Earth, Wright had become her regular guide, and she had to admit something close to a friend. His patience in explaining human customs and history had given her insights that official briefings never could. "I brought you something," Wright said, holding out the package. "It's a new type of breathing filter our scientists developed. It's smaller than what you're using now, and should be more comfortable." Zelenara accepted the gift, touched by the thoughtfulness. "Your people continue to surprise me with their ingenuity." As they walked to the transport vehicle, Zelenara thought about the progress of her mission. The Zentari delegation had established a presence in Washington, D.C., and the construction of their lunar base had begun. On the surface, everything was proceeding according to plan, yet inside, she felt increasingly troubled. Each day spent among humans revealed new aspects of their society that contradicted what she had been told by her superiors. "You seem deep in thought today," Wright commented as they drove through the city. "I was thinking about how different reality is from expectation," she replied carefully. "Your people's history of overcoming adversity is remarkable." Wright nodded. "We're survivors. Every time we've faced extinction, we've come back stronger." He didn't know how true his words were. The Zentari had selected Earth as a target, partly because human history showed such resilience. Better to bring them under control now, before they became too powerful. The High Command had reasoned that the vehicle stopped near a large open space filled with stone monuments. "This is where we honor those who died defending our nation, right?" explained as they walked among the memorials. Some of these wars were against other humans, but we've also faced natural disasters and diseases that nearly wiped us out. Zelenara moved slowly, reading the inscriptions, noting the millions of lives represented by these stones. The scale of human sacrifice was sobering. Meanwhile, on the moon, Centauri engineers worked day and night to complete their base. The official purpose was scientific research and cultural exchange, but in reality, it housed weapon systems designed to subjugate Earth. When the time came, Dr. Nicole Foster had been assigned as the human liaison to the lunar project. With short blonde hair and quick green eyes, she had a reputation as one of Earth's brightest physicists. The Centauri had specifically requested her, hoping her enthusiasm for alien technology would blind her to their true purpose. But Nicole was no fool. As she reviewed the technical specifications for the lunar base's power grid, she noticed it was designed to handle far more energy than needed for research facilities. "These readings don't make sense," she muttered to herself, comparing the blueprints to the actual construction. When she accessed a restricted area of the Centauri database, during a moment when her alien colleagues were distracted, she discovered files labeled Planetary Defense Override. The files contained plans for weapon systems disguised as communication. A raised technology that could disable Earth satellites and military installations in minutes. That evening, while Lady Zelenara dined with Earth diplomats, Nicole met secretly with John Miller in a quiet corner of a city park. "They're not here for diplomacy," she told him, showing him the evidence on her tablet. "This base is designed for planetary bombardment." Miller's face grew grim as he reviewed the information. "We suspected something like this. The question is, what do we do now? If we confront them directly, they might accelerate their plans." "There's something else," Nicole added. "I've been watching Lady Zelenara. She's different from the others. The way she interacts with humans, especially Lieutenant Wright. I don't think she fully supports what they're planning." Back at the Centauri embassy, Lady Zelenara received an update from her engineers on the moon. The weapon systems were nearly complete, ahead of schedule. Soon they would be operational, and the next phase would begin. "General Vex requests a progress report," Krill informed her. "He specifically wants to know about Earth's defensive capabilities." Zelenara hesitated. Over the past months, she had been sending reports that emphasized human strengths rather than weaknesses, hoping to make her superiors reconsider their plans. But they had dismissed her concerns as overly cautious. "Tell him I will prepare a full report tomorrow," she said. After Krill left, she sat alone, thinking about what she had seen that day, the memorials to human courage, the children playing in the parks, the bustling cities, full of life and creativity. The idea of conquering this world no longer seemed glorious, but shameful. Her thoughts were interrupted by another message. This one was not from the High Command, but from Lieutenant Wright. "Would you join me for a walk by the river tonight?" It read, "There's something I'd like to show you." She met him as the sun was setting, casting golden light over the water. They walked in silence for a while before stopping at a bench overlooking the river. "My daughter made something for you," Wright said, taking a small object from his pocket. It was a crudely made clay figure of what appeared to be a Centauri. "She's 7, he explained with a smile. "Ever since you came to our world, she's been fascinated by the idea of life on other planets. She talks about growing up to be an ambassador like you." Zelenara held the small figure carefully. "She is very talented. She's excited about the future," Wright continued. "About humans and Centauri working together to explore the galaxy." He looked directly at Zelenara. "She believes in the friendship between our worlds." The simple trust in his voice struck Zelenara like a physical blow. This man's child dreamed of a future that would never come if the Centauri plan succeeded. Is something wrong? Wright asked, noticing her distress. Zelenara looked at the clay figure, then at the river, the city lights beginning to shine as darkness fell. Finally, she looked at Wright's concerned face. What if, she said slowly, what if my people were not what we claimed to be? What if our intentions were not peaceful? Wright's expression grew serious. Then I would hope that someone among your people would have the courage to tell us the truth before it was too late. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Lady Zelenara knew she had a choice to make, one that would either save Earth or betray everything she had been raised to believe. Lady Zelenara stood alone in her quarters, staring at the secure communication device that connected her directly to the Centauri High Command. The small crystal screen glowed with an urgent message. Accelerate timeline. Human suspicions growing. Weapon systems must be activated within 7 Earth days. Outside her window, Earth's sunset painted the sky in colors that didn't exist on her homeworld. After nearly 4 months on this planet, she had come to appreciate not just its beauty, but the spirit of its people. She touched the small clay figure that Wright's daughter had made for her. It sat on her desk as a constant reminder of what was at stake. The door chimed, interrupting her thoughts. She quickly covered the communication device before answering. Lieutenant Alan Wright entered, his face unusually serious. We need to talk, he said without greeting, privately. Zelenara nodded and activated a small device that would block any listening technology. We can speak freely now. We know what your people are planning, Wright said, his voice low but firm. The weapons systems on the moon, the infiltration of our communications networks, it's all been discovered. Rather than deny it, Zelenara sank into a chair designed for her smaller frame. How long have you known? Dr. Foster found evidence 2 weeks ago. We've been gathering more information since then. He looked at her with eyes that held disappointment, but also a question. Why? We welcomed you. We shared our world with you. I was raised to believe that expansion was our divine right, she said quietly. That lesser species existed to serve the Centauri. That is what all my people are taught, from birth. And now? Wright asked. Zelenara looked up at him. Now I understand that my people were wrong. Humanity isn't lesser. You're different. Yes, but remarkable in ways we never anticipated. She stood and moved to the window. The High Command has ordered me to prepare for the final phase. The weapons will be activated within days. Can it be stopped? Wright asked. Yes, she said after a moment. The lunar base has a central control system. If we can access it, I can transmit a signal that will disable their weapons before they become operational. Wright studied her face. You would betray your own people? I would prevent them from committing a terrible mistake, she corrected. One that would lead to suffering on both our worlds. Later that night, Zelenara met secretly with Wright, Dr. Nicole Foster, and John Miller in a secure room beneath the Earth Embassy. The lunar base security is controlled by Centauri soldiers loyal to General Vex, she explained, showing them schematics. On a display, we cannot simply walk in and access the control system. What about using one of your shuttlecraft? Dr. Foster suggested. I've been studying your technology. With some modifications, we could combine Centauri and human systems to create something our engineers are calling a hybrid drive. The Centauri guards know me, Zelenara said. They would allow my shuttle to approach without question. But they would expect your usual crew, Miller pointed out. How do we get our people on board? I will tell them I am bringing human scientists to see the non-restricted areas, Zelenara replied. It is not unusual. Dr. Foster has visited before. They spent hours planning, considering every detail and possible complication. As dawn approached, they had a workable plan. We move tomorrow. Night, Wright decided. before the weapons can be activated. As the others left to prepare, Miller stayed behind with Zelenara. "You realize this is treason against your empire," he said. "There will be no going back." "Yes," she replied simply. "But sometimes honor requires treason." The next day passed. Intense preparation. Dr. Foster worked with a small team to modify a shuttle with hybrid technology. Wright gathered a small force of trusted soldiers disguised as research assistants. Zelenara sent false reports to her superiors, buying them precious time. As evening fell, Zelenara returned to her quarters to find a direct communication waiting from the Zentari Emperor himself. With trembling fingers, she activated the message. Aged face of Emperor Zorn filled the screen. "Lady Zelenara, your service to the Empire has been noted with great interest. General Vex reports delays in your mission, yet our intelligence suggests the humans remain unaware of our true purpose." She bowed her head respectfully. "The situation is complex, Your Majesty. I am proceeding with caution to ensure our ultimate success." "See that you do," the Emperor replied coldly. "The future of our expansion depends on this mission. The resources of Earth will fuel our conquest of 3 more systems. Failure is not acceptable." The Emperor's words confirmed what she had begun to suspect. Earth was just the beginning of a much larger plan of conquest. After the communication ended, Zelenara sat in silence for several minutes. Then she rose and prepared for the most important mission of her life, stopping her own people. At midnight, she met the others at a secluded landing facility. The modified shuttle waited, its hybrid systems giving it capabilities no Zentari craft had ever possessed. "Once we reach the moon, we'll have approximately 30 minutes to reach the control center, disable the weapons, and transmit the evidence to both Earth governments and the moderate factions within the Zentari Empire," Wright explained to the team. Dr. Foster checked the special environmental suit they had created for Zelenara. "This will give you more strength and mobility than your standard equipment. You'll need it if things get difficult." As they boarded the shuttle, Wright stopped beside Zelenara. "You know they'll try to kill you for this." She nodded. "My life against millions of yours. It is not a difficult choice." The shuttle lifted off silently, its engines barely visible in the night sky. As Earth grew smaller below them and the moon larger ahead, Zelenara felt a strange sense of peace. For the first time since arriving on this planet, she was acting with complete honesty. "Approaching lunar base," Dr. Foster announced from the pilot's seat. "Zentari security is requesting identification." Zelenara moved to the communication system. "This is Lady Zelenara of House Zentari, personal representative of the High Command. I am bringing human scientists for the scheduled inspection." There was a pause before the response came. "Confirmed, Ambassador. You are cleared for landing in Bay 3. As the shuttle descended toward the lunar base, Zelenara looked at the humans who had trusted her enough to follow her into danger. Wright gave her a nod of encouragement. "It's a big challenge," he said quietly, "but we have to try." Zelenara straightened her shoulders. "Yes," she agreed. "We have to try." The shuttle touched down gently on the lunar surface. Through the viewport, Lady Zelenara could see the gleaming dome of the Zentari base spreading out before them. What had been presented to Earth as a scientific outpost was in reality a military installation designed to bring humanity to its knees. "Remember the plan," Wright said quietly as they prepared to exit. "Dr. Foster and I will pose as scientists interested in your technology. Miller and his team will remain on the shuttle, ready for a quick departure." Zelenara nodded, adjusting her new environmental suit. The human-modified design gave her greater mobility than she had ever experienced in Earth's gravity. "The control center is in the central dome," she explained. "We must pass through 3 security checkpoints. My authority should get us through the first 2, but the inner chamber requires General Vex's codes. Which you have? Dr. Foster asked. Which I can bypass, Zelenara corrected. If I can access a terminal. The shuttle door opened, and they stepped out onto the landing pad. 2 Zentari guards approached, bowing to Zelenara. Ambassador, we were not expecting an inspection, one said, his eyes moving suspiciously to the humans behind her. The High. Command has concerns about the project timeline, she replied with practiced authority. These humans have expertise that may help us resolve certain technical issues. The guard nodded, though his posture remained tense. Of course, Ambassador. Please follow me. They were led through the first checkpoint without issue. The base was a marvel of Zentari engineering, with curved passages and soft blue lighting. Designed for Zentari eyes. Human workers moved awkwardly in the spaces built for smaller bodies. A reversal of Zelenara's experience on Earth. At the second checkpoint, they encountered their first real challenge. A senior officer named Draz stood waiting, his face set in a suspicious frown. Ambassador Zelenara, he said stiffly. I received orders from General Vex this morning. No humans are permitted in the restricted sections today. The weapons systems are being prepared for activation. Zelenara felt right tense beside her. She kept her voice calm. Officer Draz, my authority comes directly from the Emperor. These humans have been cleared for limited access to help resolve the power fluctuation issues. Draz hesitated, caught between contradicting orders. I will need to confirm this with the General. Of course, Zelenara agreed smoothly. While you do that, perhaps you could explain why you just mentioned weapon systems in front of our guests. Systems that officially do not exist? Draz paled, realizing his mistake. I misspoke, Ambassador. Indeed. A serious breach of security protocol. The Emperor will be most displeased to hear of it. She stepped closer. Now, will you delay the Emperor's representative further? Or will you allow us to proceed? Faced with the threat of imperial displeasure, Draz stepped aside. Proceed, Ambassador, but only to the technical sections. They moved deeper into the base. Wright leaned close to Zelenara and whispered, Impressive. You should have been a diplomat. On my world. I am a diplomat, she replied with a small smile. Just not a very loyal one today. They reached the central dome where dozens of Zentari technicians worked at curved consoles. At the center stood a large cylindrical structure pulsing with blue. Energy, the control nexus, Zelenara explained quietly. It manages all systems in the base, including the weapons arrays. I need to reach that terminal on the far side. Dr. Foster nodded. I'll create a distraction. When I do, move quickly. A human scientist stepped forward and approached a group of technicians with a tablet full of questions about their energy systems. As the curious Zentari gathered around her, Wright and Zelenara slipped around the edge of the room. They had almost reached the terminal when a loud alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed throughout the dome. Security breach detected, announced an automated voice. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. A large screen on the wall flickered to life, showing General Vex's stern face. Lady Zelenara, he said, his voice cold with rage. Did you truly believe we would not monitor your communications with the humans? Your treachery has been discovered. Armed guards began pouring into the dome. Wright pulled out a concealed weapon, pushing Zelenara behind him. Get to the terminal, he ordered. We'll hold them off. Across the room, Dr. Foster had also drawn a weapon. She nodded to Zelenara. Go. Zelenara ran to the terminal as weapons fire erupted behind her. Her fingers flew across the controls, bypassing security protocols she had secretly studied for weeks. Stop her. General Vex shouted from the screen. She will ruin everything. A guard reached her, grabbing her arm. Selenara twisted, using these enhanced strength of her new suit to throw him aside. She returned to the terminal, entering the final commands. "Weapon systems shutting down," the computer announced. "Warning, critical systems failure imminent." Wright appeared at her side, his face streaked with blood from a cut above his eye. "We need to go. Now." "Not yet," Selenara said, her fingers still moving across the controls. "I need to transmit the evidence to Earth and to my people. They must know the truth." The room shook as explosions began somewhere deep in the base. The weapon systems, designed to draw massive power, were creating a cascade failure as they shut down improperly. "Base self-destruct sequence initiated," the computer announced calmly. "All personnel evacuate immediately." "Now we go," Selenara sighed, grabbing the data crystal from the terminal. They ran through the chaos of the evacuating base, dodging panicked Zentari and falling debris. Dr. Foster met them at a junction, supporting a wounded Miller. "The shuttle is still secure," she reported. "But we have less than 10 minutes before this whole place blows." They reached the landing bay just as another explosion rocked the base. The artificial gravity flickered, making movement even more difficult. As they approached the shuttle, a squad of Zentari guards appeared, weapons raised. "Traitor!" Their leader shouted at Selenara. "You betray your people for these humans?" "I save my people from becoming monsters," she replied. "Lower your weapons and evacuate while you still can." Whether it was her words or the increasing destruction around them, the guards hesitated. Another explosion decided for them, sending them running toward their own escape vessels. The team boarded their shuttle and launched just as the main dome of the base began to collapse. From orbit, they watched as a series of explosions spread across the lunar facility. "Transmission successful," Selenara announced, checking the shuttle's communications. "The evidence has reached Earth governments and the moderate factions on my world." Wright sat heavily in the seat beside her, wincing as Dr. Foster treated his wounds. "What happens now?" 3 weeks later, Lady Selenara stood before the United Nation Security Council on Earth, still weak from her own injuries, but determined to speak. Her actions had sparked political upheaval on her homeworld, with moderate factions challenging the militarists who had planned the conquest. "The attempted conquest of Earth has been thwarted," she announced to the assembled human leaders. "More importantly, the exposure of this plot has sparked revolution within the Zentari Imperium. The militarists who planned this aggression are being removed from power." From her seat in the gallery, Dr. Foster watched with pride. The technology they had recovered from the lunar base had accelerated Earth's development by decades, particularly in medicine and sustainable energy. After the session, Wright approached Selenara in the hallway. "The President has asked me to inform you that your request for asylum has been granted," he said. "You can stay on Earth for as long as you wish." "Thank you," she replied. "Though I must admit, your world still presents ... physical challenges for me." Wright smiled. "We're working on that. Dr. Foster's team is developing environmental adjustments that should make Earth more comfortable for you and the other Zentari defectors." 1 year later, Lady Selenara, now simply Nara to her friends, stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Alliance space station. Below her, Earth gleamed blue and white against the blackness of space. Beside her stood representatives from both humanity and the reformed Zentari Republic. "When I first saw your planet, I thought it was too big a challenge," she told Wright, who now served as Earth's ambassador to the Zentari. "The gravity, the atmosphere, your people's strength and determination, it all seemed overwhelming. But I had to try to understand, and in doing so, found a better path for both our worlds." As they signed the historic peace accord, Nara reflected on how her failure as a conqueror had led to her success as a peacemaker. Sometimes the greatest victories came from admitting one's limitations and embracing change, however daunting it might initially appear. She looked out at the stars, where joint human-Zentari exploration missions were already venturing. Together, they would go much further than either species could have gone alone.